Can you taste and smell it? Football is right around the corner. T minus, what is it? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. T minus 6 days before the Pies take on the Giants in the opening round. This is what I want to see for season 2025. So a little bit of housekeeping as it's going to be for the next couple of videos. The hats have finally arrived. I've got them right next to me off camera. The t-shirts are finally in as well. So everyone who's placed an order, I will be sending them out this Friday. The link is down below. It is literally the best way to support me, support this channel, and support me doing this full time, which would be absolutely incredible if you could do that. It would be just... My heart's already beating for how many orders I've already got. So the link is down below. Pick one up and it would just be absolutely incredible. Second piece. So I am starting to trial a voicemail system where on Instagram, once the game finishes, there'll be a link that goes up where you can add in your name and your email. You don't have to sign up or anything like that. And then you can leave a voice recording or a voicemail for me to play during the match review. So pretty much what will happen is as soon as the game ends on Instagram, on my stories, there'll be a link. You can tell me your thoughts on the game and then you will hear that in the match review. Now in this video, I've put the link up on Instagram. I think there's about 8 or so voicemails for what you guys would like to see during the season. I think it's going to be an absolutely really cool thing that we can do and just communicate a little bit more that way. I think it's going to be really fun, but this will be the video that we trial it out on. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to see throughout this season is how a semi-new backline will look and function. Now, last year, we were one of the worst defenses in the league. Obviously, everyone's sort of been saying, even, Collingwood would come out and say, we were 13th for points scored against us. We were first in clangers as well. That's not just defense, that's all throughout the ground. But when I talk about a semi-new defense, we know who was in the defense last season. Reece McGuinness is the big name, right? It's on everyone's lips. I've been talking about him for God knows how long, 3 or 4 months now. I want to see how he goes in proper games with Darcy Moore, with Jeremy Howe, and then with Dan Houston down back. With Josh Dacos. Now, Josh Dacos, he was shifted down into the halfback line late last year. Fly came out, he said that he's sort of that quarterback. He's got that precise kicking, that high IQ when it's sort of coming out of there. So I want to see how he works in tandem with Dan Houston. Also, Isaac Quaynor. So Isaac Quaynor came out earlier this week, said he had a pretty significant toe injury. So he had turf toe. So that was what sort of hindered him. He couldn't release his speed because it was on his left foot, which is his the foot that he uses to burst off the mark. And his game really suffered for it last season. We saw that a lot. Now, he is back to pretty much, full fitness. He's still kind of got it, he said, but he's pretty much back to full fitness. He's smashing out the time trials and all those sort of things. Now, we know that we're not good one-on-one defensively, and I don't see that changing. I still see Hogan, Curnow, Mackay, King, whoever else there sort of is, maybe even Armadi, kicking a bag of 4 or 5 goals, because that's just what we play, right? That's just how Collingwood sort of do. They don't do well one-on-one defensively. Darcy Moore, Jeremy Howe, they rely on that third tall to sort of intercept mark. Now, Billy Frampton wasn't that guy last season. We didn't have that guy because of Nathan Murphy's retirement. Now we've chucked Reef from the forward line into the back line, and like I said in a previous video, Reef might need 6 rounds to sort of get into the groove of things, but at the moment, it is horses for courses, and he is the best option that we have, bar none. So I want to see how he sort of functions and works in tandem with Darcy Moore, Jeremy Howe, and what that does to Darcy Moore's game and Jeremy Howe's game, because last season they didn't play that well, right? They didn't play that well. Obviously, we missed out on finals, and how do you lose games when attacks score more than you, right? When forwards score more than you. So obviously, the defense was a really big struggle last season. And another thing with this semi-new defensive look, 2022, 2023, our scores were generated off halfback running, right? Off the halfback. We didn't do that last year. We couldn't do that last year because of the personnel, because of the injuries, etc., etc. So our scores were generated off the half forward line more than they were off half back line. From what I'm seeing in training, the match simulations, the game against Richmond, we are bringing that half back run and gun, chaotic football, kamikaze football, Russian roulette football, however you want to call it. We are bringing that back, and it'll be the Collingwood that we know and love with some fresh faces, some new faces, and I just want to see how that goes. You know, I want to be top 8 in points against, as opposed to where we are now, 13th. The second thing I want to see is how Fly manages the aging stars. Now, we're going in with the oldest list. I think in the history of the AFL, we go in with the oldest list this season. We're doing an all or nothing thing. I'm all for it, right? I'm all for it. The media, that's all they can cling on to because they know we're a good team, but all they can cling on to is Pendlebury's 37, Howe's 32, blah, 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 da, 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 right? So I understand that. I want to see how Fly manages these guys. Now, Steel Sidebottom um, in a chat a couple of, it was last week, I went to one of those sportsman's nights and Steel Sidebottom was there, and he said his body is good to go and he will play until he can feel like that he just can't go again and someone else takes his place, like an Ed Allen or whoever that may be. But at the moment, he's really good to go. So I dare say that all those guys are like that, and you'll see them in opening round as well. What I'm curious about though is in an interview with AFL.com.au, Fly came out and said that he's treating this season like the 4 seasons of the world. The 4 seasons, is there a better way to say that? I don't know. The 4 seasons of the world. So summer, autumn, winter, and spring. You want to play in spring because spring is September. It's beautiful. It's Virgo season. But the team that's in spring is going to look different to the team that's in winter. It's going to look different to the team that's in autumn, which is obviously coming up. Oh, well, we are in autumn. It's March, right? So our best 22, 23 will change throughout the year, barring touching wood, barring any significant injuries. It will change. And again, like with the Reefs sort of thing, it will be horses for courses. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that sort of works out. Do the old guys go all the way through? Or do we see some fresh faces, which is a perfect segue into my third point. Is this year a passing of the baton year, and who is the next to step up? You had the likes of Shane O'Brien, Medhurst, Tarkin Lockyer, Josh Fraser, Leon Davis, and when we played the replay of the second grand final, even though he sort of played most of the year, Prestigiacomo. So even though he was injured. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is these older guys pass on the baton to the younger guys, and most of those older guys didn't play in the final series. They didn't play in the final series. So is that something that we see this year? And I've said this before, but that's just a feeling that I have. And kind of like what Fly said, and this was sort of, I was thinking this sort of before Fly did the seasons analogy, and I love that seasons analogy, is that our opening round team, or our round 1 team, round 2, round 3, is going to look so different to our best 23 towards the end of the year. I'm thinking Ed Allen comes in, maybe even a Will Parker or someone like that that's going to sort of take Collingwood by storm. And who are these guys that will step up? And Ed Allen is the name that's there because he's that big guy. He's that guy that they're sort of always using. Is it going to be him? Are we going to see someone just absolutely come from the clouds? Is it going to be a Charlie West, a Will Hayes? Is Will Hayes going to play better than Jamie Elliott for most of it? Who knows what's going to happen, right? Because we're not psychics. We can't sort of predict this. But I just have this feeling that this year is a passing of the baton year, and obviously we're going to see that next year when some of these players retire. But I have a feeling that this year is just going to be a passing of the baton year, and in a good way though, in a really, really good way. And I'm very keen to see that. Besides like making the top 4 or making the top 8 or playing finals, I definitely want to see those things. They're just not worth talking about because I want to win the flag, right? The last thing I want to see is, can the triple M's, McStay, Mycheck, and Membry combine for 100 goals? Now that's on average, that's what, 33.33 goals per player in the season. I think that's really achievable. I have McStay kicking 40 plus goals. I've got Membry for about 25 plus goals, and Mycheck, it's Mycheck, right? I feel like he's going to kick 40 plus goals as well. So I think they're on track, and they already scored 10 against Richmond. I know it's against Richmond, bloody hell, far out. I can't say too much about that because everyone will sort of come for me that are opposition supporters. But I've got a feeling that if we can get them to combine for close to 100 goals, and then you've got Bobby Hill who'll kick 35, or Jamie Elliott kicks 30, or Nick Dacos has a running mid, kicks 20, or whatever sort of may be, whatever sort of may be, those big 3, the Trident, the Hydra, the Cerberus, what else were you guys calling them? The Magpies Ultimate Dragon. I think if we can get them combined for 100 goals, that is an absolute win, because you got to remember, McStay, Mycheck, and Membry as well, they're not getting sort of any younger. and we're all or nothing this year. They really need big years. So that's what I want to see from this year. Now let's listen, new segment, let's listen to what you want to see this year.
Jamie Elliott, period.
Swoop, mate. What I'm looking forward to most for this season is seeing big Darcy Moore back to his very best. He was looking very athletic when we played Richmond. Hoping he can keep that consistency throughout the season.
I just want to see that real hunger, real drive from the team. I want to see us. I want to see us back in that 2023 game plan where we're just running and not looking behind. Plus, we've recruited 3 massive players. I really like the addition of Membry to the forward line. Perryman is just that player every team needs, and Houston will make us 10 times better. I really think we can win the flag this year, and for people who are saying we can't win it, I don't believe it. Go Pies, keep doing what you do, Swoop. Love you, mate.
The thing that I'm most looking forward to this season, by far, how our half-back line develops throughout the season with Josh Dacos and Dan Houston, and also with Reef at centre half-back. I want to see them flourish, and I want us, by this time next year, to stop mentioning we miss Nathan Murphy, because our half-back line has become the most elite in the competition.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 3 big ends, Memory, Mycheck and McStay. We haven't really had that key forward in previous years, so it'll be good to have some tools down the forward. They look good. And hopefully how the Pies can bounce back from last year.
I'm looking forward to seeing a guy that he's a very young lad. It reminds me of the first time you ever saw a sunset after a beautiful spring afternoon. A guy that when I first saw him hold a football in junior football and dance out of traffic, it was like the first time I heard Get Back by the Beatles. A man that is arguably the best player in the league already at his age. The gentleman we call Nick Dacos. Looking forward to seeing that boy, because that boy can play football.
Yeah, the biggest impact is got to be Dean Houston, Tim Membry, and also Harry Perryman. I reckon Harry Perryman and also Nick Dacos, if he plays alongside in the midfield, no one can touch us. No one can touch them, and we'll be so elite. All right, say Swoop. Go Pies.
So I hope you enjoyed that. It's going to be a little bit more tweaky. I'm just putting video sort of behind it at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to reply to them or not. Maybe some of them I'll reply to, but I just like sort of combining them, hearing all your voices, and we'll chop that up into a reel TikTok and put that on social medias. But until then, buy some merch. It'll be much appreciated. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.